Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers. Every Monday, I sit down to talk about recently watched movies with my dear friend and artist, Danny Haas.
And so my biggest note is, am I an idiot?
And our own spiritual advisor, Protolexis.
Honestly, how disrespectful is this? We haven't watched the first one in the trilogy. I have a very vague recollection of what happened in The Mood for Love. And now we're doing number 3.
Sequels month continues with Proto's pick, Wong Kar-wai's 2046. Will we redeem ourselves after our controversial In the Mood for Love episode? Or will we be in the mood for a brand new co-host here at 70mm? Enjoy! We got to kick off this episode big.
How big?
We're reading the tea leaves out there. You know, we had another 70mm summit.
Mm-hmm.
We rent that meeting room, the WeWork. We sit out. There's like a whiteboard. Proto's drawing, sketching ideas. You know, mind board. And we saw that Jurassic World Dominion is coming out in theaters. What's the date on that?
June.
Sometime in June. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be covering, this isn't the announcement, we're going to be covering Jurassic World Dominion. Okay? That's a fact on the main feed.
What?
We're going big. Yeah.
As big
Back
as it
to the
gets.
new release grind. And leading up to that, the road to Jurassic World will be...
said it. Can't believe you
I
said
can't
it.
even say it.
Oh
It's
my
so
God, now
dumb.
that you're saying this sounds like a terrible idea. Oh my God.
The road to Jurassic World will begin on June 6th with Jurassic World, directed by legend Colin Trevorrow. Proto, your thoughts?
I was feeling really good about this until you just said it on the show. And I'm thinking, these 3 movies.
Colin Trevorrow. Name 5 movies he screwed up. Can you? You can't even do it. After Jurassic World on June 6th, we will be covering the sequel. We're going even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Danny, do you have fond memories of seeing that in theaters as a youth?
No. I didn't see it until it reached VHS release.
This is the one where they run in the balls, right?
That's the first one. That's
well,
the first Jurassic
the second
World.
one they do it too, right?
they do it
They
all?
find the balls again. They return to the balls.
Yeah, see, I don't think I've seen Fallen Kingdom, but I remember the balls from the trailer.
Mhm. They
Oh.
return to the balls.
And then, as mentioned before, Jurassic World Dominion will end the journey. But we thought to ourselves, that's not big enough.
Yeah. Wait, there's
we got to
more.
go to the source. We got to go to the biggest fan
What?
of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, for the road to Jurassic World. And that is one of the hosts of the Movie Mixtape Pod, Marcy, cherished member of our community, will be our guest for Jurassic World Dominion.
Big night.
This might be the biggest get of the show.
Yeah.
It could be. Could be. Will we survive this journey?
We might not.
Will she?
The end of that night, where could we be?
We quit the show. All 3 of us quit the show. It's like that Spider-Man cover where the costumes hung up on the trash can. We leave the
Great
pod.
Reconsidering our life choices.
So that's the big announcement for this episode. But May the 4th happen this week, Danny.
Oh, man.
You do anything special?
I just watched Return of the Jedi. My fave. 5 stars. Love the Return of the Jedi. And then I just watched all the reviews on Letterboxd rolling of our village, enjoying the day as well, and celebrating the greatest film franchise of all time. That's never had a bad movie.
I haven't seen Return of the Jedi in a very long time.
Really?
Yeah. I used to watch it all the time when I was a kid. Had the tapes.
Yeah. It's a great one. It's a good day to celebrate Star Wars.
Proto, what did you do to celebrate the 4th of May?
The 4th of May, I was able to watch The Vagrant. You guys hear of this movie?
I have heard of that.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch any Star Wars movies. I had as I say, bigger fish to fry. I had a movie that was burning a hole in my pocket. I had to get it on. So,
how was it?
Tell us.
Tell me about The Vagrant. People don't want to hear about Star Wars. They want to hear about The Vagrant.
Do they really? Are we switching gears here? Okay.
We're shifting.
The Vagrant. I gave it 3 stars. This is a Bat and Spider pick upcoming. Slim, you watched it as well.
I did.
How about our boy Bill Paxton? Rest in peace.
God, his hair was
Bill's
electric in that movie.
Yeah, Bill's the
Was it not?
star.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, Bill buys a house. He's an analyst on the way to be a full-time analyst.
Yeah,
Transponster?
Big salary bump. But he's got he buys a house and he's got this vagrant that lives next door, and it drives him mad. It's really like a downward spiral for Bill Paxton, but he's gorgeous this whole movie. I really enjoyed this flick. I've never even heard of this, but 1992, The Vagrant, some nice, camp in this movie. Sometimes that's all you need.
Executive produced by Mel Brooks. When will we cover a Mel Brooks movie on this pod? I ask you.
Is it on the docket? Let me pull up the spreadsheet.
Blazing Saddles month.
Blazing Saddles 2.
Never seen it.
God. Has any modern pod covered that movie? Blazing Saddles, would it be the end of the show? Who knows? Young Frankenstein is mentioned in chat. That's one of Amanda's favorite movies, my dear wife.
Gene
And our
Wilder,
next
you kidding me?
Amanda, please. Young Frankenstein.
Amanda has yet to listen, I think, to one episode of 70mm, and I don't think that's going to start when she guests on an episode.
I believe.
Just a reminder, around the corner, bottom of the hour feature, Prezzo, 2046, Wong Kar-wai, the pick from Proto himself for sequels month.
If we get to it, we have a lot to cover.
We might not even get to it this episode. There's so much to cover this week. I don't think I did anything to celebrate Star Wars Day.
It's okay.
Now that I think about it.
I celebrated enough for the 3 of us.
You did. How about all those reviews coming in?
It's great.
Star Wars fans in our Discord popping in.
It's big for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Did you know that the director of Jurassic World Dominion, Colin Trevorrow, was
Are you opening the store?
Originally the director for Rise of Skywalker.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
When?
Before he got fired.
Maybe we should just do that one next week.
Rise of Skywalker.
Release the
Trevorrow
Trevorrow cut. There, see, Dylan understands.
Danny, what else did you watch? Let's talk about King Kong. You watched King Kong. I want to hear about
let's
this.
talk about it. Well, leading up to Kong, because of how busy my next couple of weeks are, I wanted to squeeze in Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. And I forgot how okay those movies are. They're not as bad as I remember, but they're fun. But after finishing Jurassic 3, down at the bottom of the HBO Max screen, it was like, you might also like King Kong. And I have never seen Peter Jackson's King Kong. Always one of those, like, I should have seen it. And then it's just far too gone to even watch it. And I remember people just kind of bagging on it, not really digging it, etc., how long it was. And it is a very long movie.
4 hours, right?
I loved every second of it. It's incredibly
Thank
good.
you. Yes.
And it's gorgeous. Like, I don't think a lot of the CG holds up. There are some, I mean, I hate saying that word, saying that sentence. It's stupid, but it's never going to. But there's some green screen scenes that are kind of okay. Especially on the boat.
I mean, can you put it next to the Agatha Christie Poirot movies?
I haven't seen it. I haven't.
And some of that green screen is...
Yeah, I would say,
Let's not compare screens.
Better than that. But it's just a lot of fun. And especially when you get back to New York with Kong, those shots of New York and Naomi Watts is fantastic in it. Adrian Brody's great. I mean, this jumped up on my list of one of my favorite Jack Black movies. He's so good in it. Not many people talk about it. And I would love to find a day where we cover this movie on this podcast.
Could have been sequels month. You know, as soon as that review came in, I just marked that off.
Of what?
I marked it off. Spiritual sequel to the original King Kong and the
remake
70s
month.
King Kong.
Wait, this is a sequel. Oh, I mean, we already did the first one. We did the original Kong.
It could have been a 70mm sequel. Actually,
That's
remake
not a-
month is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's not a sequel.
Is this happening?
'Twas beauty killed the beast.
This is the Empire Strikes Back of the King Kong spiritual trilogy.
But one of the things that shocked me was after seeing like Godzilla's and the Godzilla's Kong and Kyle Chandler being in all these damn movies. He's in King Kong too.
What?
He's got to have photos of some
he's
executive.
in the Peter Jackson King Kong. What? In what world did he lose a bet to be in all these giant monster movies?
I think he won a bet, right? Because he's in all these like big production movies somehow,
maybe,
some way.
but when he popped on screen, I'm like, why is Kyle Chandler in this movie? Get him
Early
out of
edition
here.
fans.
Clear
Maybe
eyes,
there's like
full
a fan
hearts.
vote.
Can't lose.
Okay. Anyway, so
Doug.
yeah, King Kong was fantastic. I had a great time watching it.
You know, there's a scene in that movie, the scene with the I don't even know what to call them, like the giant tapeworms. You know what I'm
They
talking
called
about?
them the like sucker things.
Yeah.
Oh my
That gets on top of the one dude's head.
That bug scene is gnarly.
Sometimes when I close my eyes, that image pops into my mind.
Ew.
Like that movie is so that like really took a hold of me. That scene
It like
freaked me
sucks
out.
on all of his limbs.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
And then his
Was
head.
that Andy Serkis as Kong?
No, Circus
he
is
was
the one
the
that gets
tapeworm.
destroyed by the tapeworms.
Oh, God.
It's rough.
The only person who has ever learned how to do motion capture was Andy Serkis. He's the first
King.
and only to ever do it.
Motion capture savant.
Anyway,
Well, maybe I'll jump in. I don't usually go second.
Jump in.
I'm going
I'd
to jump
love for
in
you to jump in.
because I watched a big one
You did?
this week. I
Mhm.
sat down on my couch. I didn't lay on the floor for this one. I sat on my couch and I watched The Godfather Part 3.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in 4K
How was it?
UHD. Al's hair looked great. I'd never seen this. I always heard, I think we talked about it last
Mhm.
week, was The Godfather Part 2. And I did DM. I asked her, I was like, all right, Danny, you picking Godfather Part 3 for your movie? He said he had no intention. So I continued watching. Otherwise, I would have kept my mouth shut that I was watching it. I gave it 4 stars. It's
Mm.
very, very different.
That feels
Ow.
very high.
It was probably 3.5 stars until the end. I watched Coda, the Coda version, the recut, which I did some research on. It's not like drastically different. I'm looking at my Letterboxd review. Robert Duvall,
King.
Mhm.
man, it sucked with him not being in this movie. Like they literally had the same character in it, but it's just not him.
What?
Oh,
They had
really?
the recast it?
No, I mean it's like identical character. It's like the family lawyer who's helping Michael with these deals.
Is there a reason he
Oh
didn't come
my
back for it?
Gosh.
I was so annoyed I didn't want to Google it.
I
Didn't
mean,
even
at
wanna
that
know the
point,
real
all you
answer.
have left from the original is Michael.
Well, Connie's in it.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Connie is in
okay.
it, and his 2 kids are a big part of the storyline.
interesting.
They're grown up. Sophia Coppola plays his daughter. She has like a prominent role, and apparently she replaced Winona Ryder at the last minute because she got sick.
Oh, wild.
Sophia Coppola, in my opinion,
Oh,
not good in this movie.
well, she went on to
really?
directing. So.
It really took me out of it, to be honest.
Oh,
What's the time gap from 2?
I think Al. I think he's in his late 50s, early 60s.
So like 15, 20 years?
Yeah, yeah. She's 8. I think maybe she's 18, something like that. Also, Al's doing some like crazy things with his lips in this movie.
Oh.
And it reminded me of Big Boy Caprice from Dick Tracy, his character in that movie.
Oh my gosh, really?
And I looked it up.
You
And
just pulled that.
Dick Tracy I had to look it up because Dick Tracy came out that year.
Oh, God.
His
Really?
mouth is kind of just like opening sometimes when he's not talking. You know, it's just like this weird tick
He
that
was
he does in the
infected
movie.
already by the character.
Oh my gosh.
He was deep in character.
Yeah, I feel like that time, that's where Al Pacino is beginning to believe, and the Al Pacino that we know now emerges.
He's very different than his portrayal in the first two movies. I will say that. He's more Al Pacino in this. Diane Keaton is back though as well. She plays a big role in this.
Oh, cool.
The plot is pretty cool. I dug the plot, and it's not a spoiler, but the main gist of this movie, he sold all his casino stuff, and he's trying to finally go legit. So he's trying to pay the Vatican off to repay their debts, and then take over a business that the Vatican owns, like this real estate business. And that's his like out at the end, or like not the end of the movie, but like that's his plan. So he's like dealing with the Catholic Church and the Pope in this movie, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Wild.
Yeah. 4 stars.
That seems incredible.
I might have to watch this now.
People say they hate it though, and to not ever watch this film. That's what's so wild about your 4-banger.
I mean, we just watched the first 2, so it felt like I was on a high. I had to finish.
Ride that
Yeah.
high.
Well, speaking of your high,
Excuse me.
I jumped into The Offer, the TV show, based on the beginning makings of The Godfather and how hard it was to make this film. And while I don't think it's a good show quality-wise, I am enjoying the story of how tough it was to make this movie. It's only 2 episodes are out. Miles Teller plays the producer that was like a nobody. I forget the producer's name. That got Mario Puzo together with Francis and started working on making this film. And Giovanni Ribisi's in it, and he plays the actual mafia head that is the one that's trying to stop The Godfather from getting made.
What?
It's I feel like everyone is playing like a caricature of the person they're supposed to be playing. Like it's kind of silly-ish. But I just kind of am enjoying the story. I like watching it kind of unfold. So if you're into Godfather, you might want to check it out.
What's that on?
Paramount.
Paramount Plus?
Yeah, I think.
One of the P letters.
Paramount it's Paramount.
We should say hello to some new friends on Patreon this week that joined us at 70mmpod.com or patreon.com/70mm. Josh, Jordan, Justin all joined this week, got access to the VHS Village Discord, discounts on prints, uncut EPs. Smoke signals just went out to our supporters, and we have almost 30 EPs just for supporters out there. And also I want to give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro. Every week we give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro. A disclaimer, I'm a Letterboxd employee. And that gets you personalized end of your stats, gets rid of ads, let you change your username if you want to, and then sort by your favorite streaming services. But PTF Film shared on Twitter that they got those pins. The Director's Set Series 2 that Danny designed.
My friend Peter.
Look out.
Excuse me.
He's a friend of mine.
Peter. Congratulations, Peter.
Love it.
Trainer Jets is rigged. Someone banned Trainer and by end of show. Thank you.
Casey's pissed.
I did just want to say one thing. I watched a few other movies, but there's just one thing I wanted to say before it gets too far away and I don't get to say it. We usually talk about movies on here, but sometimes we watch a TV show, something, we want to mention it. I want to say that after over like 10 years of beginning the series Avatar: The Last Airbender, I finally finished it. And I just want to say, if you're somebody who enjoys animated shows, something maybe like the Clone Wars, that level of content, I would just recommend watching Avatar. I know I'm like the last person to watch it, but if you haven't seen it, I just want to make a plea that anybody out there, if you can hear my voice right now, it might be something you want to consider. That's all I wanted to say.
God bless.
I feel like I might have seen a selfie of you weeping during the finale of that show at some Discord. I'm not sure which one, but
that
think
was actually the first episode of the next show that comes out based in the same world. Korra, the Legend of Korra.
Speaking of please, what about a viewing of Mamma Mia that was circulating in our Discord that you might have done?
Mamma Mia. Here we go again. This movie. I was working. And I hear it was actually people were talking about this movie in the Discord. And I hear music playing. I turn around, and my dear wife JR Scrolling had turned on Mamma Mia. She actually thought it was the sequel, and she was like, "Oh, this is the sequel." She's like, "This is the only one that's streaming right now." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Well, when I can come watch it with you in a bit." So I finished work, plopped over, 20 minutes in. Watched the whole movie with her. At the end, we find out it's actually the first movie. Amazing. So I watched them in order. But yeah, a fun movie. I didn't want to really talk too much about it because I think we'll have to do this movie on the show at some point.
Oh my gosh.
I think it'll happen. The power's in my hands.
I can picture J.R. Scrolling's laugh at the end of that movie, Revelation, where she finds out that it wasn't the sequel.
Oh, yeah.
The patented laugh.
She was cackling this whole movie.
Okay, it's time. Proto's pick for sequels month 2046. This was a difficult movie to obtain. I just forgot already that we had to buy our DVDs or search the library to even obtain this film to watch if we didn't own a box set. Wong Kar-wai, 2004, this came out. Proto, can you prepare our audience for a discussion?
Chow Mo Wan is a writer who was working on a story entitled 2046. His story describes a future where a train network connects the Earth, and one stop is 2046, a place for the lovesick that no one returns from. The genesis of the story is the apartment next to his, number 2046. As Chow lives next door, he sees different tenants come and go. Some he loves, some he helps, and all are written into his story. As these tales are weaved together, the life of his characters in 2046 are told as well. Chow writes about others, but also can't help but write about himself. The lovesick, the heartbroken, the missed opportunity, the what-ifs and never-weres. Chow and his characters ponder these moments and wish for a chance on the train to 2046.
I grabbed this on eBay, DVD. It amazingly came early, so props to eBay seller, whoever that was, probably some long-ass number at the end of their name. What a journey for us. Remember last week when you announced this, we all kind of crapped our pants post-show, realizing that it was almost impossible to watch. Remember that moment?
Crapping. Yeah, I do. I was scared.
I got a quick text.
I was ready to make a change there on the spot to a different movie. I'll be honest.
What would you have picked?
Sanjuro, I think, the other Kurosawa.
That's right.
That was my backup.
Pick. Yeah.
What could have been?
What if?
What if? So this is the alleged spiritual sequel to In the Mood for Love, which was a episode that we've covered in the past. That was a fun conversation. I think that really opened a lot of our listeners' eyes to how we could have different opinions than the masses, the Criterion heads out there, Pinkies Out crowd. I didn't know this movie existed before Proto picked it, to be honest. Danny, what about you?
No, I had no clue. Especially since we did the middle movie in this trilogy. I didn't even know there was one before or after this was even considered a trilogy of Wong Kar-wai. So definitely a shocker when Proto brought it up.
Yeah, I didn't know that until after we did In the Mood for Love. But honestly, there is a connection to the other movies, but I didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure of what was going on or how they were related.
Trainer, dear friend in our Discord, he rated it 3 stars. I actually thought it was lower than 3 stars, unless he's changed the rating. But he writes in his review, about 25 minutes in, I thought 2 hours had gone by. Unlucky. Interesting pick for man-ass May. So this is the part of the show where we all have 3 points that we jotted down during our viewing that we want to bring up. We'll go round table. So let's start with Proto. This is your pick. What's the number one thing that you wrote down?
Thank you, Slim. I think the thing that struck me the most while watching this is just the way Wong Kar-wai shoots a movie. Like the form of his camera work, to me, it feels so claustrophobic. Like I felt claustrophobic watching this whole movie, where everything, the way it's blocked off, where just the character is in focus, and then everything else could literally just be like boards of paint for the most part. Like it's so extreme in that regard. And I remember some of that from In the Mood for Love, but I feel like it wasn't this
not
this heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like consistent all the way throughout the movie. And I can't remember like a movie where it looked like this.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. And the way I viewed it, at least when I was watching it, was I kept thinking about how cramped this apartment building was. And it was like making me extremely anxious. Like if I had to live in this building with a paper thin walls, maybe you could, if someone's walking down the hallway that the same time you are, like you literally have to go back in your room for them to pass. Like that's how thin it was. It was just making me extremely anxious the whole time.
Well, also that one shot of where the one character would be on the phone, and then in the background you would see maybe into a hallway. There was a portion of the wall that was green. Like I literally have to describe the shapes that I saw. Like I don't know what room this actually was. I didn't totally understand what I was seeing at times.
Yeah,
it's weird because I kind of loved it. Like I know Casey really disliked how it was framed and shot while we were watching it. But there's something about the way he blocks off his scenes. I really love, and his color choices. I mean, this is basically my number one. But the way he, every bit of frame, I feel like is just gorgeously shot and lit and colored and performed. I mean, you could look at the back of Tony's head while he's standing in front of a green wall, and it's gorgeous. He never really misses when it comes to style. Especially, I mean, we said it in The Mood for Love too, but in this, when we were talking sci-fi and whatever they were trying to do with the CG trains, but still, it still looked gorgeous.
Yeah, I think that was my main point from In the Mood for Love, about how great it looked.
Yeah.
Like everything popped. And I think at the time that was streaming somewhere. So it looked even better. But I mean, for this viewing, we all watched a DVD. What is that, 480p? I don't know.
I think
it was rough.
240p.
The subtitles are blurry.
The subtitles, my God. The subtitles, who was in charge of DVD subtitles? I mentioned in the Discord, it looked like I was watching an illegal scan of this on Plex because the font was like 24 size, taking up half the screen. It was insane. You mentioned the color palette of the film. There is some debate, I think, on the recent re-release box set that they have changed on that release. So like the Blu-ray copies, I think, look a little bit different than the versions that we've watched.
The Criterion Blu-rays?
I think the Criterion Blu-rays.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The controversy.
The thick controversy about the Blu-ray release. Paul says Criterion had a green tint for sure. My first note actually probably was the subtitles. I read the subtitle font was atrocious. But my first note was, I think I fooled myself into thinking that this was more sci-fi than it was. I think he has done other movies that maybe were more sci-fi-ish, but when we read the description of like women enter and exit a science fiction author's life over the course of many years, I thought that like, oh, this is going to be a trippy journey that would be almost like, super meta, but it's not. It's like there's 1/10 of this movie is about this storyline that he's writing, maybe even less. but it's still very much a in the mood for love, moody drama between him and the female characters in his life over the years, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I was expecting more sci-fi in some kind of form, as you're saying. But yeah, I've seen some of his other movies too, the Chungking Express and Fallen Angels, and they kind of they're not explicitly sci-fi, but there's scenes in those movies that I think I might have written in my review that it reminded me of Blade Runner. But it's also like the way that he shoots a movie. There's so little that he's revealing about the world that all he has to do is put one person in a costume or like show some kind of detail, or just like in this movie, it's really just the train that is the whole science fiction aspect of it. So he has like the CG portion, but then he has these scenes on a train with people who have just a totally different appearance. It's kind of like a pseudo futuristic look with like spiky hair or however they're dressed. So like there's that aspect. So he kind of creates that sense in other ways that you wouldn't like. He's not spending tens of millions of dollars to create that, but he's just using like these little techniques, which is kind of cool the way he portrays, I think, the sci-fi aspects of this.
Yeah, the intro, like the first scenes of this movie is, there's a narration happening about, 2046 in a world where there's train cars and people go to 2046 to forget or whatever. And then they show like the train future city. And I'm like, what am I watching right now? This is like a PS1 cutscene.
Yeah.
Happening.
Almost thought the library put the wrong disc in the case.
Maybe we throw some more cash at the CGI team for this movie.
Do you guys remember that show? I think it was called Reboot. It would play on like Saturday mornings. Reminded me of that show.
Let's see. So, Danny, did you give your?
Not really.
Oh, let's hear your number one then, officially.
So, coming into tonight, I think I had no notes. I had one note written for this movie.
God.
And so I'm watching like video essays on YouTube. And
panic mode.
I'm just like,
panic.
And so my biggest note is, am I an idiot? Because I'm listening to people explain this movie to me and I still don't get it. I don't understand this movie. And even in the midst of watching it, I couldn't keep up with whatever timeline we were in, which girl was who.
Yeah.
Who got stabbed in the beginning and died. I was lost. I was lost 100% of the time of this film from the get-go. And this is just like chalking up to be one of those. I mean, maybe Wong Kar-wai is falling into that Tarkovsky mode for me, and he's just not for me, especially after not really loving In the Mood for Love, which is like his top film. Right. But I'm seeing all these reviews for this, and I'm just like, I'm just a normie when it comes to film. I want my Spielberg romps. Sometimes I connect with these more intellectual, higher conversation movies, but this one just wasn't. It wasn't for me. It really wasn't. It was wild, but it's gorgeous.
Proto's pre-show review, 2046, the year my co-host let me pick another movie.
Right. And like, that's what also, I couldn't even figure out what 2046 was. Like, I was like, oh, they're traveling to a year on this train. It's like time travel. But then I'm like, no, it's not time travel. It's a place. Right. But then I'm like, oh, it's the neighbor. So lost. I'm not even playing.
I did have, so we talked about this being a spiritual sequel, but it's kind of just a sequel, right? He plays the same character from In the Mood for Love. Character. And it's years later, he loses contact with his love in that film. So this feels like a legit trilogy. That's also another thing. One of my notes was like, oh, this is like a real deal sequel. This isn't a spiritual thing. This is kind of just the continuation, which I also wasn't expecting.
Vindication. I agree with Danny. This movie, it feels like a test that you have to take notes for while you're taking it. Like you have to like figure out who is who, because also it's one thing for a movie to get lost in with its complexity. Say like, you watch it. I feel like Tenet, like I kind of you have to like pay attention to what you're watching if you want to understand it. But in this, it almost feels like Wong Kar-wai is trying to confuse you and like make you lost by like giving you very little in terms of direction. Yeah, like you can probably watch a video about it, read the synopsis online to get an understanding, and then rewatch it and be like, okay, I'm tracking with this. But it's very hard to watch this movie right out of the gate and understand what's going on. Like it's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt so lost, and I watched a YouTube guy explaining this film, and he starts off by saying, "This might be one of the most underrated sci-fi films of all time," and I'm like, "What is it? I don't think so. There's barely any sci-fi in it."
I'd love to see a Blu-ray of this. Yeah, I feel like some of my viewing was impacted from watching a DVD on a budget mid-range 4K TV. You know, it's not going to look as good probably as like a regular TV back then.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to know how gorgeous this actually does look on a Criterion Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
I also was confused. So I remember I looked up Trainer's review, and I was chuckling reading it as I was watching it, and I paused it to see my timestamp because he had said 20 minutes in, it felt like 2 hours. I was at 21 minutes when I paused mine. So let me see. So I think it's Proto's number 2. Proto, what's your second note?
Well, in terms of just different scenes in the movie, I think the one that stood out to me the most is his relationship with Bai Ling, who is the high class prostitute. Who he begins a romantic relationship. But like the whole development of that was like insane to me. The way it started with him, I just wrote down in my notes, the scene with the present WTF, like that whole interaction of him trying to give it. I was like, this guy is a creep. Like, who is this guy? Like, it felt so strange seeing this in relation to everything else in the movie. Of course, it then like I feel like that kind of disappears later on. You know, it seems like he's really forcing himself on this woman, but then they connect, and then just trying to understand the relationship of her, men pay to be with her. Right. And then this guy, but then they were like falling in love. And then the way the tables turn and the relationship, like the dynamic of that, it was just, I was in awe of like what I was seeing, even if it was hard to understand what was happening.
Their relationship was my favorite part of the movie. I loved her in this movie. I think there was one scene that I wrote down where he tries to play a trick on his like coworker. Remember or whomever, and go to this apartment. And then I believe it's her, but when he first sees her come out of her apartment, he like stares her down.
Yeah.
Right? Like he looks at her for maybe a good 30 seconds down and then up. And I wrote that note down. I'm like, oh my God, what a stare. Calm down, Tony. But then so I think I can't remember if I had read this in the wiki or an essay, but they did say that, his character, as a way to almost compensate from losing, is it Sue from the first movie? Like he goes hardcore the other direction, becoming a ladies' man. Like way hard in that. Yoli says he's broken now after all his longing for Sue after his wife's cheating. It's like he's filling a void. So that was kind of where I saw things for his character. So then, so their relationship, like that scene where he has half his mustache shaved and they're like kind of goofing around in her apartment. I love that stuff. Those scenes were tremendous. I was actually started getting angry at him for not being with her.
Yeah.
Like, let's settle down here, Tony.
That breakup scene was unreal to me. Yeah. Like them where you're seeing, like, you're thinking like, yeah, this is it, right? Like, can we work this out? But then the way he just pulls himself back from her and completely disengages is wild.
Yeah, I felt really bad for her. Dumbass Tony. Oh, so that scene, the scene with the shaved mustache. I do want to also call out that kiss that he finally gives Sue number 2 with the glove.
Oh,
good
my
heavens!
Gosh. Yeah,
I'd be interested to hear opinions from In the Mood for Love fans if that was him finally like consummating what he didn't do with Sue in that moment. Like that was kind of the build up after many years of him not having that. I don't know. Like that's my only assumption at that point because he was like suffocating her to death with that kiss.
Someone,
Right?
someone needed to come up for air at one point.
Was that the longest on-screen kiss ever?
I was
crazy.
baffled by that kiss. Didn't he do it twice in this film?
I feel like we probably missed a video essay. I can imagine that there are lots of 2046 fans probably pissed off at us for not quite getting it.
Just explain us the kiss. That's what I want to know.
Explain it to us in a 1-star review on iTunes.
Honestly, how disrespectful is this? We haven't watched the first one in the trilogy. I have a very vague recollection of what happened in The Mood for Love. And now we're doing number 3.
You're not getting it.
Yeah.
Danny, what's your next one?
The next one, the Christmas song by Nat King Cole really was perfect for me. I don't know why I love that. Well, first of all, the song slaps anyway. But Tony getting ready, like that was a sexy ass scene with the Christmas song going. And I love that.
Big fan.
One of my notes is that I feel like Wong Kar-wai does have an amazing ability to blend images with music and people and places. Like he blends all of the elements of a scene together so well that I feel like what he's like drawing out in that moment of like sentimentality. It's Christmas Eve. There's like, this guy, lovesick. He's walking in, while it's snowing. Like he just, he's creating that moment using like every single element to like dial to 11 that he can.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there thinking like, I know our cultures aren't that much. I mean, they're different, obviously, but how in our culture, we're always, at least in America, we're always like, "Ooh, Die Hard's a Christmas movie." I wonder if in Asian culture, like, 2046 is a Christmas movie.
I was thinking that, like, I could see myself watching this in December. Maybe me and Ben Sandberg, big Wong Kar-wai fan.
Ben, don't turn us off yet.
Ben, come home. Come to my home.
Ben, please.
We'll watch some
Ben
Wong
is outside
Kar-wai.
Proto's house right now. He's just staring next to the window of the Proto's attic.
He's pissed.
Proto, what's your number 3?
Well, one thing, I guess you mentioned the song, but yeah, the score itself too. It's just like another really fascinating aspect of Wong Kar-wai movies of having a score that repeats itself, and like him creating these loops where even the different acts between, where Chow is interacting with different women seem to loop and have, similarities. Then he also plays the same music throughout all of these scenes. And there's like this repetition, but like with this slightly different change. So in the way that he uses the music, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I'll be honest, I don't even remember the music in the movie. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just being honest with everybody here. This is a safe space. We built this community to be a safe space.
Was that at the 50-minute mark? That's where you fell asleep?
We built this to be a safe space. My third note, I just lost it. Oh, I do want to talk about the sci-fi elements here a little bit more. Like the train scenes, him and the cyborg.
There was a cyborg?
Yeah, when she was on the train car with him. She was like an android.
Oh.
That wasn't the real character.
Danny had given up reading the subtitles at that point.
So I thought those scenes were cool, but for my viewing, I thought those elements just didn't vibe for me. Like I felt the juxtaposition of the sci-fi future story and the modern day stuff just didn't work at all for me. I would have preferred it just be not even there, or just keep the sci-fi elements to like a few scenes later in the movie when he's like writing the story. Like having it at the beginning almost just kind of threw me off a little bit too much, and my anticipation of what this movie was going to be about than what it ended up being. So that was just my thought.
Yeah, I feel like they were too metaphorical. Just even the stuff on the train, in relating to his life, that it wasn't really, you didn't really need as much as that was shown, or you could have shown it in a different way. Like I feel like someone could make an amazing 5-minute animation about the train stuff. Yeah. Do we need a new cut? Someone, please?
I still haven't finished my last Action Hero cut that removes the kid from the entire movie that Proto asked for. Danny, final note?
I guess my final note is
You can wrap up too if you want.
no.
Go
Okay,
on.
I'll do both. I love Tony. I think he plays such a
Love
cool.
Tony.
He's such a good actor, and it's the way he smokes a cigarette really gets me. I love him with a cigarette. Wong makes the
Sig.
cigarette look so sexy. I mean, I want to smoke a cigarette just thinking about it right
Let's
now.
smoke right now.
Can we fire one up? I just love Tony. That's my other note. I think he's phenomenal in this. I really want to watch more of his filmography outside of Wong Kar-wai. My wrap up,
Wrap it up.
I think this movie makes In the Mood for Love look like a masterpiece.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like raising my In the Mood for Love stars just by watching this film.
Wow.
I just didn't connect with this at all. I think all of my stars go to Tony, the visuals, the Christmas song. I'm going to be at 2.5 stars for this.
2.5 stars from Danny.
Bless.
Bless up from Danny. Thank you for your honesty.
You're welcome.
We'll save Proto for last since this is his pick. My honorable mentions, I think I actually got them all. I got all my notes. So ahead of time, I had 3 things written down for this movie. So I was in Danny's shoes. I was like, all right, we're going to have to front load the show. We're going to have to talk about a lot of movies because the conversation is going to be short. So this is one of those trademark not for me movies. And that's okay. The Bai Ling storyline was my favorite thing, but 20 minutes in, I was like, oh, God. And then like an hour in, I was like, oh, God, when does this like kind of work out for me? And it didn't. So I'm at 2.5 stars for 2046 as well. And that half star was for the Bai Ling storyline.
Before you go, Proto, I watched an interview with Wong Kar-wai talking about this film, and he actually says to watch this before In the Mood for Love if you haven't seen In the Mood for Love yet, which I thought was very interesting.
Prequel.
Spoilers. Trying to spoil his own movie. Very bold.
Proto?
There were some great lines that I loved in this. I think where he says feelings can creep on you unawares. Just the whole, I think the other thing in this is that it's hard to decipher even the theme of it, even as I've watched the movie and contemplated it. But even what the idea of traveling to this location 2046 means, for lovesick people, for people who have, bad memories or what have you, or whatever it could be to represent. It's kind of hard just to wrap your mind around it. It's not like a very straightforward theme or idea. And I think that's one of the hard parts about watching this movie is that by the end of it, it feels like you almost, you don't even understand what it's about. But I do appreciate that someone would make a movie like this that would be that difficult to understand or deal with things that aren't as simple as, I don't know, just like love or whatever. Oh, there were some shots that I loved. The shot of the silhouette of her with the sign above the building.
Oh, I love those sign shots.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, and then also there was a lot of title cards in this movie that kind of took me out of it. And I don't even know why they were in it so much. There was a period where communicating how many hours passed while on the train. I like the idea of like 1,000 hours of this android just like looking outside the window on a train. And I love that shot, but it also it kind of like broke the moment of all of these title cards that kept popping up.
Sorry. I'm still baffled there was an android in this. Totally missed it.
So I'm at 3 stars for this.
Oh,
wow. Okay. What's Ben going to say when Ben hears this? Your dear friend and Wong lover.
He's probably not going to talk to me.
Yeah, he's going to cut you off.
He said on my review, he said, I'm not even going to listen to the episode for my emotional health.
Did you dedicate In the Mood for Love to him?
I did. It's my Christmas
Brandon
gifts.
wants to know in chat, has the Shrek threshold been met? The infamous Shrek episode. That's a good question. I rated that one pretty highly, so I don't know what the threshold was for that.
That might be 7 stars because I think Danny was 1, I was 2.
Sure. Well, 2046, according to V'ger, the supercomputer who loves movies, the average rating of our supporters 3.62. Only 8% of our patrons have actually seen it, though. So you do the math. 2046 in the bag. Sequels
In
month
the
continues on. We're not stopping. We're going harder next week.
The show must go on.
The show must go on. We'll talk about our pick at the end of this episode, but we have some letters, some VM to listen to. You can send us one at 70mmpod@gmail.com or just use the links on 70mmpod.com. This one has a subject line, "Thank you, Predalexis."
Oh,
it's a VM.
Thank you.
you're going to resend it real quick.
Hey guys, it's Jasha here. Proto, thank you for choosing 2046 as your pick. I'd never even seen a Wong Kar-wai film before, so you picking this
Oh, my.
finally pushed me to dive in. And I'm happy to say that between our last DVD rental place we have in town here and a few on-demand services that shoved ads in my face every 10 minutes, I actually managed to watch the entirety of Wong Kar-wai's Love trilogy. And I loved
Oh,
all three of
gosh.
them. I'm really looking
Oh.
forward to your guys' discussion on 2046, even though I have a bad feeling that you've probably torn it to shreds by now, but alas, I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. I really, really dug the first of this trilogy, Days of Being Wild, and I was just wondering if you think that there would ever be a chance after 2046 that you'd give it a watch, at least just to complete the set, 70mm does the whole Wong Kar-wai journey.
Yes.
You know, what more do you want? Anyway, that's me. I hope you're all doing well. Danny, your Star Wars Celebration art, it's something else, dude. It's so good. I'll catch you all later.
Sold out, by the way. That art is sold out at the distributor level.
Mm.
Pardo,
You gotta
will
go
we
to
ever
secondary.
complete the journey?
I think we have to. I think Jason made a great point. I mean, we're so close at this point. Why not finish it? I mean, we're going to watch 8 Harry Potter movies. I think we can watch one more Wong Kar-wai.
Should we record this on Ben's front yard so he can't
Can
escape
we just have
the
Ben
episode?
on?
Ben can't be on. He just got to sit next to us.
We just set up a speaker in his front
Ben,
lawn.
sit here and explain this movie to us.
Thank you very much for that VM. Beautiful VM. Next email, subject line, greatest of all time. Comes from Brian. Hey, 70M, it's Brian again. The Godfather is regarded as one of the greatest movies of all time, but I have another submission. The Shawshank Redemption. Before my dad passed away, this is the one we would watch together. That feeling that overwhelms you when Morgan Freeman's character says, "I miss my friend" at the end of the movie gives me waterworks every time. Spoilers, I guess, if anyone hasn't seen Shawshank Redemption. So much more to say to you awesome hosts. Thoughts on Shawshank? As always, thank you. Do you have thoughts on Shawshank, Danny?
I've never seen it.
Oh.
So, Looking forward to that Morgan Freeman scene.
Oh. Proto?
Prison month.
Felon month. Do you have thoughts, Proto?
It's been so long that I don't really remember much of it. So,
Wow. What if?
Is
Who
it a
directed
sign?
it?
What if? I can't
Was
remember.
it a sequel?
Shawshank Redemption. Frank Darabont,
Oh, Frank.
the king himself. Remember, isn't he the guy that kicked off the Walking Dead TV show and then got fired and sued? Rest in
oh my
peace.
gosh.
He's not dead, but Frank Darabont's filmography. Listen to this. You ready for
Talk
this?
to me.
The Green Mile. We could do back-to-back Shawshank
That's
Green
so
Mile.
weird. I was about to make a Green Mile joke. I didn't realize he did that.
Matthew, the podcast Godfather in chat, says Shawshank is the highest rated of all time on IMDb.
I don't know what IMDb is.
Whoa. Wow. That's big.
The Majestic, Jim Carrey.
Hmm.
Look at the background image on The Majestic on Letterboxd. Hold on, let me paste this photo.
This is a Jim Carrey vehicle. I've never seen this either.
Look at that photo.
What a great pick.
Crypt Keeper.
Can we get Proto on both of those faces, please? Oh my God. Also, The Mist. I loved The Mist when I was younger. Never want to watch that again now.
2007.
Who was in The Mist?
Thomas
that
Jane.
Superman?
Is this a
Thomas
Stephen
Jane.
King story?
Yes,
Okay.
based on the novella.
Wait, how many Stephen King movies did
Stephen-
Frank do?
Stephen King has like 1,000 movies.
But Frank did a few of them, or a couple.
Couple. Guess they're BFFs. Brandon and I, of course, have seen the black and white version. I was hardcore into this movie when I was a kid. Well, not a kid, 2007. It's not that long ago. So there you have it.
We did it.
Shawshank. But we're not done yet for sequels month. As Steve Austin would say, we're not done yet. Not yet by a long shot. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Stone Cold.
For those intern tier supporters, we have the intern tier where we do watch along movies. The three of us watch a movie and we record it, have a hi-ho time, the three of us watching it. There's also another bonus. You get like your own channel and Discord to chat. And then Proto also produces his own exclusive audio content. The audio dispatches from Proto. There's an IG account tracking your progress. So if you're thinking about becoming an intern, that's what you get. But we cleared this with the interns already. And one of the most recent watch-along episodes was Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So our next episode, right? Is it the anniversary, Danny?
20th year anniversary.
My God. Next week, we will be talking about that movie, Attack of the Clones.
Happy May 12th.
Celebrate.
Now, we had, some would say, miserable time watching Attack of the Clones, the three of us together. You can listen to that audio on our Patreon. But Proto, are you excited at all to go back, rewatch, and talk about this in episode form?
I don't know if I'll enjoy watching the movie, but I'll enjoy talking about it with you guys. There's a lot of great things to talk about when it comes to this movie, and we're going to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
We're going
A
to
lot
get
to
into
talk
it.
about.
Right off the bat, I think we can safely announce that the art will not be for sale. Is that a safe? That Danny's using code. Are you pumped, Danny?
Oh, yes. Very much so.
Pumped.
Remember, just to set the stage, remember Samuel L. Jackson wielding that lightsaber during the movie?
Like
Remember-
a tennis racket.
Remember anyone wielding a lightsaber in the movie?
Every
What a
Jedi
time.
getting mowed down in seconds from anyone, from the robots. But next week, this is real, Brandon. Next week, we're doing Attack of the Clones, streaming on Disney Plus. That's our next episode for sequels. month.
Highest grossing sequel of all time.
What?
That's not real.
What?
And just a reminder, we announced the Road to Jurassic World kicks off in June. We're doing the Jurassic World trilogy,
again.
and we will end that journey with the foremost expert in the Jurassic universe, the Jurassic cinema. It's so dumb.
Say it.
I can't even say it out loud. The Jurassic Cinematic Universe. Marcy, co-host of the Movie Mixtape podcast, she will be the guest for the Dominion episode. It's a big ass June coming your way.
Whoa.
Sir.
Sorry, keeping it PG.
You have to workshop that a little bit.
Yeah, you got to try harder on that one.
This is the biggest ass of a month.
All right, so that's it for this episode 2046. Proto, do you have any closing thoughts to take us into next week where we celebrate the anniversary of the second prequel?
Yeah, that voicemail from Jashzilla really struck a chord with me because I'm thinking, here we are enduring this movie, not a lot of love for it, 2046, and it might not be for all of us, not our favorite movie, but I mean, Jash, he discovered it and Wong Kar-wai and watched the trilogy and loved it. So, gosh, I mean, when you make somebody fall in love with a movie by watching it, what more can you ask for?
What more indeed? Next week, Attack of the Clones. Buckle up, baby. 70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematrix. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.